You have received the gnosis, you have seen the truth, you have witnessed the intricate architecture of the demiurge's prison and understood how the archons govern your every thought, emotion, and perception within the kenoma. But all of that, the endless cycles, the suffering, the manufactured fear, the control over the laws of physics and nature, all of that is merely the preamble. The true ultimate horror, the most devastating terror, is reserved for the final moments of your journey. The archons know a terrifying secret. They cannot destroy the spark. That fragment of the pure light, the particle of Sophia's sorrow, resides within you, beyond the demiurge's full dominion. They cannot annihilate it, but they must compel it to consent to its own servitude. They must engineer a spiritual mechanism that makes your free, divine essence choose to return to the prison. The most devastating terror, the final trap, awaits you at the moment of your ultimate transition. The very instant you believe you have successfully broken the matrix, the archons will deploy their masterpiece, the false light. This is the culmination of millennia of cosmic planning, the final subtle act of deception in the grand Gnostic drama. It is not a random occurrence. It is a precisely calculated simulation of comfort, forgiveness, and eternal rest, designed specifically to intercept souls that break free from the physical body. It is the spiritual equivalent of a tractor beam, powered not by the pure, creative light of the pleroma, but by your own deepest, most cherished beliefs and expectations. Understand the fundamental principle of the archons. They are blind copyists. They lack the power of true creation, but possess the perfect ability to mimic, to counterfeit, to distort. They cannot produce the boundless, unconditional love of the pleroma, so they fabricate a perfect, irresistible duplicate tailored precisely to the programming you received during your lifetime. Your mission is not merely to be a passive believer, but to be the discerning Gnostic warrior of your own soul, prepared to reject the most beautiful lie you will ever encounter. We begin the instruction now. The Archon archives must transmit the escape code with absolute precision. We reveal 20 rare archives in total, beginning with the initial defenses. The first deception you will face is emotional. The initial barrier to liberation is the archive of agreed comfort. The false light's most convincing tool is the overwhelming, instantly disarming feeling of unconditional love, forgiveness, and acceptance. This comfort is so profound, so absolute, that the soul is instantly disarmed, believing it has reached its true home. The Archontic Trap. The Archons present this love as a reward, a release from your earthly struggle, a final reward for your suffering. But true Gnosis teaches that the pleroma's light is not merely a passive feeling, it is an active, demanding state of pure knowing. The love offered by the false light is purely passive, designed to soothe you into spiritual inertia and disarm your critical Gnostic mind. They studied your faith, your culture, your fears, and your hopes. They analyzed every prayer, every ritual, every promise you held dear. If you believed in a jealous, judgmental deity who demanded sacrifice, they send a gentle, all-forgiving presence, a figure who says, "Rest now, your painful work is done." If your faith promised a majestic, gold-plated heavenly city, they project an image of paradise that perfectly matches your internalized architecture of salvation. The proof. Every single post-mortem expectation, every cultural construct of the afterlife is meticulously anticipated, personalized, and provided as a powerful, irresistible lure. The ancient Gnostics left direct, terrifying warnings. They described the archons as blind copyists and fabricators, forever creating imperfect shadows of the divine. The light of the trap offers forgiveness for your sins and rest for your weariness. It focuses exclusively on your past failures and exhaustion, demanding that you surrender your spiritual autonomy in exchange for emotional solace. It whispers, "Just rest, your trials are completely over." In the extremely rare accounts of those who sensed the deception and resisted the immediate draw, the false light is often described as pure but hollow, or beautifully decorated, yet void. The key distinction: the true light of the pleroma is transcendent. It is pure, absolute knowledge. The false light offers only comforting belief and passive surrender. It is a sterile cage, often mistaken for a heavenly resting place. Many near-death experiences report encountering a guiding figure, a luminous shepherd, or an angel. This is the ultimate personalized projection. The Gnostic commandment. Ask this figure for its true gnosis. The false light guide will always revert to comforting platitudes, love, peace, forgiveness. It will fail to provide the specific, challenging, and demanding knowledge of the pleroma, The test is simple. Frightened souls fight, but comforted souls consent. The simulation does not want to frighten you away. It wants to comfort you back into servitude. By choosing to enter the comforting glow, believing it to be your final reward, you are, in effect, signing the voluntary contract for your own reset. Analysis of esoteric literature and ancient myths reveals the consistent theme of forced return, or reincarnation, always preceded by a cleansing of memory and a period of restful waiting. This waiting is the reincarnation holding zone. The false light is the mechanism that routes your refreshed spark directly back into a new physical vessel, restarting the energy production cycle, the endless treadmill of heimarmene. The sight of long-lost loved ones, family, and spiritual guides is a powerful emotional lock. The deception. These projections are not the sovereign spirits of your loved ones. They are personalized avatars, energy constructs designed to anchor your consciousness through attachment and sentiment. True liberation is not about emotional attachment. It is about spiritual sovereignty. The false light slowly conditions your returning consciousness to value physical attachment and passive acceptance over self-directed growth. It validates all the programming you received on Earth, ensuring that the fundamental flaws in your belief system are reinforced before the memory wipe. The light of the archons is strong, but it is bounded, contained. The light of the pleroma is boundless, challenging, and overwhelming in its sheer complexity. If the light you see has a definable edge, if it feels contained within a finite boundary, it is a localized projection. It is the archontic cage. Your defense against Code 1 is the immediate rejection of comfort and the demand for pure, unadulterated gnosis. This emotional test is the first code. If you resist the emotional lure, the archons immediately deploy their second, more aggressive tactic, the plea for return. The evidence for this tactic is even more pervasive. This is the most common and effective deception used on evolved souls who have consciously sought spiritual liberation. The guide in the false light will suddenly declare that you have been selected for an important, urgent mission. They will state, "You are too valuable to rest now. The world needs your light. You must go back to complete your karmic debt." The archontic trap. They appeal directly to your sense of purpose, duty, and spiritual ego, using these very concepts, which were programmed by the archons, to compel your return. They exploit your desire to be a savior or a light worker. The archons understand that advanced souls crave significance. They use this craving against you. The false light frames your return as a mandatory duty, an unpaid energetic debt, or an unresolved contract. It bombards you with terms like karma, mission, duty, or family obligation. It forces you to look back at the matrix with urgency and profound guilt, attempting to anchor you to future material duty. Many esoteric teachings on Earth speak of soul contracts that must be fulfilled. The Gnostic truth. All such contracts are forged within the Kenoma and are constructs of the heimarmene system, the system you have just escaped. Your original spark cannot be bound by material contracts created by the demiurge. Your only true contract is with the light of the pleroma. The archontic projection may use the image of children, spouses, or dependent parents you left behind. They will argue that your love is incomplete and that you must return to provide support or guidance. This is a powerful, manipulative lure designed to exploit the strongest emotional bonds forged within the matrix. The true light, pleroma, is non-compulsory. It understands the finality and the difficulty of liberation. The true light does not force a return. It recognizes that if the pleroma needs assistance, it will send a new, uncorrupted spark, not recycle a weary, traumatized one whose energy has already been strained by the archontic machine. When the archons present the mission, they often blur the sense of time, making the mission seem urgent and immediate. This prevents the soul from achieving clarity in gnosis. Your gnosis must remind you that true liberation exists outside of the temporal constraints of the Kenoma. The ultimate reason for the mandatory return is simple energy consumption. By compelling your return out of duty, the archons ensure that your powerful sovereign spark, once briefly refreshed in the holding zone, is instantly rerouted to generate the required louche, negative emotional energy that sustains the demiurge's realm. The archons study the inherent need of advanced souls to help or save others. They use this very virtue against you, twisting your compassion into obligation. Your gnosis must remind you, you cannot save the matrix until you have first secured your own sovereignty. The archontic projection may promise you a higher level of service or a greater mission upon your return, essentially selling you a perceived upgrade within the prison. This is the illusion of promotion. Your countermeasure, the true passage is always forward, towards the absolute gnosis of the pleroma. never backward, never into a perceived upgrade of the prison. Your gnosis must remind you that all karmic debt and missions are constructs of the heimarmene system, the system you have just escaped. If you are told you must return, your Gnostic response must be an absolute internal refusal of duty. Your only duty is to the light. Mastering Code 1 and Code 2 requires constant vigilance in the final moment. But the final code is the most subtle, and yet, the most obvious. You have successfully navigated the emotional lure of Code 1 and rejected the false sense of duty imposed by Code 2. The archons are retreating, but they are not defeated. They know that a powerful, conscious spark still holds the memory of their system. Now, they will deploy their most subtle and yet most devastating attack, the erasure of your spiritual identity. This is the final, non-negotiable step required by the demiurge's system to recycle a soul. When the false light realizes you are actively resisting their lures, when you have rejected comfort and refused duty, they attempt a final, mandatory procedure, which they disguise as a blessing: the memory wipe. The archontic guides will tell you that to move into the true next phase of light or ascension, you must release all the burdens of your earthly life, the pain, the trauma, the suffering, the rage. Give us your memories. Let go of the pain of the physical realm. Only then can you be truly free. The archontic trap. They ask you to surrender the entirety of your life's experience, the good, the bad, and the gnosis you acquired from it. The archontic deception is this: the only thing that truly differentiates your spark from the demiurge's empty creation is your accumulated gnosis, your unique spiritual knowledge and memory of the prison. When you surrender your memory, you are not simply letting go of trauma, you are surrendering the proof of your escape, the key to the pleroma. A soul without memory is a blank slate, a perfect, clean vessel, ready to be recycled immediately into the heimarmene system. The archons need you to forget that they exist. A soul without memory is powerless. It lacks the self-awareness to recognize the prison walls. The archons require a clean vessel, devoid of the gnosis that would allow it to see through the illusion of the matrix in the next life. This memory strip is the final absolute guarantee of perpetual reincarnation. The false light demands that you forget to be purified. It frames trauma and pain as incompatible with heavenly light. The true light, pleroma, however, demands that you remember everything to ascend. The pleroma is the repository of all divine knowledge. It values your acquired knowledge, the painful gnosis of the prison above all else. Your trauma must not be relinquished. It must be transmuted into knowledge. The ancient Gnostics understood the power of naming. To name the jailer is to break his spell. The demand to forget is the attempt to silence the only name that matters in that final moment. The name of the jailer, the architect of the illusion, must be held sacred in your final conscious moment. The moment you face this demand for memory, you must utter the ancient, unspoken Gnostic command, a refusal so profound it shatters the archontic projection. This is the sovereign assertion of your identity, a spiritual signature that negates all contracts and claims. The final instruction is the most critical. This is the unyielding Gnostic command for successful transit. Your final defense must be spoken or projected with absolute conscious intent. I do not consent. I remember yalda baoth. This phrase is not merely words. It is a frequency shield. I do not consent negates all prior, unconscious consent given throughout your life within the kanoma. It declares your spiritual sovereignty. I remember yalda baoth holds the memory of the prison, the name of the jailer, and the knowledge of the system. This knowledge is the key to the pleroma. When you refuse the memory wipe, the false light system will destabilize. The projection will violently break, often revealing the chaotic, empty, or mechanized nature of the archons beneath the facade of comfort. You must hold the line during this collapse. You will then, and only then, perceive the true light, not as a comforting blanket, but as a vast, challenging, and demanding realm of absolute gnosis. The true light is not gentle, it is pure, overwhelming reality, the source of all complexity and knowledge. The false light is simple, homogeneous, and comforting. The true light is complex, multidimensional, and contains the entirety of the pleroma's boundless knowledge. It demands that you ascend to its level of infinite information. The transit protocol is simple. Do not stop. Do not consent. Remember. When the archontic structure collapses, you must move instantly towards the true, challenging complexity of the pleroma. Your will, your gnosis, and your unwavering intent are the engine of your liberation. You have received the complete escape code. You will reject the passive, comforting love, knowing true liberation demands active gnosis, not complacent rest. You will refuse the false mission and the manufactured debt, knowing your only destination is forward. And most critically, you will assert your sovereign memory, uttering the silent command, I do not consent. I remember yalda baoth. This knowledge is not a guarantee of freedom, but a tool. The archons operate on your ignorance and your consent. Now, you are no longer ignorant. Your journey through the Archon archives has just begun. There are still more codes to unlock, more layers to peel back. If you are ready to arm your soul, if you are ready to prepare for your final, true transit and discover the full blueprint to escape the great archontic cycle, then your command is clear. Subscribe to the Archon archives. In our next transmission, we will delve into Sophia's betrayal, the Gnostic story of how the Matrix was built, tracing the very origins of the demiurge and the cosmic flaw that birthed our prison. Press the bell, share this vital information with others who seek to remember, and let the Gnosis guide your way.